evening. Okay, this group's been a little quiet tonight. Let me try it one more time. Good evening. How are you feeling tonight? Our finalists, how are you feeling tonight? Yeah. I mean, tonight is an amazing night, right? It's going to transform lives in a few minutes when we find out who our winners are. And for all of us as business owners, there's always a date in our lives that we think back to, and we say, this is the day where things started. Now, for me, I recognize what that date is. And I'll ask you the question right now. Where were you on June 18th, 2015? Can you remember what that date was? Can you remember what was happening? It was your 35th birthday. Thank you so much. I'll let you know right now, it was a Thursday. And on that Thursday, I knew my life was about to transform. And where I was on that Thursday was right here in Phoenix, Arizona. I had gotten called into a meeting with my boss at the Metro Center Mall. Oh, yeah. I was there expecting a promotion. I was waiting for the raise. And when I sat down to have the meeting with my boss to ask what was going to be happening today, something amazing happened to me, but not in a good way. This blue folder came across the table, and that blue folder, when I opened it up, let me know that my services were no longer needed. So the guy named Kitchen just got fired at a kitchen. Now, I can laugh about that right now, but the thing was, this was an eye-opening day and a sad day. Because if you look at the date, this was Father's Day weekend. And my wife was pregnant with our second child, 6.5 months pregnant. So I am fired on Father's Day, and I had just kissed her saying, I'm going in for my promotion. So now I had to go into this parking lot, and I had to figure out what to do. Now I'm going to test the ethics in this room right now. I went out to this parking lot, and I sat down in the car, and I had to figure out what was I going to do. Because this is the fourth job I had lost since I'd moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Should I go back and tell her the truth? Or should I make something up? If you notice, all the men in the room laughed. All the women were saying, you got to go home and tell the truth. So I got in the car, I drove home, and I had to go tell my wife, Kelly, the truth. I let her know that I'd gotten fired. And being Father's Day weekend, there were a lot of tears. And once I stopped crying, we had to determine what we were going to do. Now, when I say what we're going to do, we have a tradition for Father's Day in our house. Every year, we drive from Phoenix, Arizona to Albuquerque, New Mexico to spend time with Kelly's parents. So I hear it in the back right now. So I got to drive to Albuquerque, walk into my father-in-law's house and say, I lost my job. Happy Father's Day. Did I mention that my wife is his youngest daughter? Should I also mention that my father-in-law comes from a Hispanic background? Should I also mention that he had to work his way up from the lowest of the low, with Spanish being his native language, to becoming a corporate exec? This is where another decision had to happen right now when it talks about ethics. Do we drive to New Mexico, or do we make something up? I'll ask you right now, what would you do? This side says tell the truth. I don't know what's going on the other side of the room. They're like, call out sick. But we said the right thing to do is to get in the car and drive to New Mexico. Now, as we're driving to New Mexico, I can let you know there's a lot of thoughts going through my head, because you already heard, New Mexico, Hispanic background. Did I mention he's ex-military? Did I mention that in Albuquerque, that's where they shot the show Breaking Bad? There are places to hide the body. But while I'm driving in the car, I'm wondering, how did I get here? Because I had this dream of becoming a business owner. Quite simply, my big dream was I wanted to become a professional speaker. That was my dream. And now all I'm thinking about in the car is I got to pull into this man's driveway and go, I've lost my job and I want to be a professional speaker. How do you think that conversation is going to go? So as these ideas are going through my head, I have a talk with my wife, Kelly, about, what was going on. And at that point, I had to be honest with her. I had to let her know the reason we were here was because of me. For 8 years, I had talked about this business. I had talked about being a professional speaker, but I didn't put the work in. And what I started to realize in the car was the more we talk about something, the further away it gets. The person most responsible for us producing or cooking up the results that we want in life looks at us in the mirror every morning. So the reason I'd gotten fired wasn't anybody else's fault, it was mine. I had to take the personal responsibility. But I also had to ask for her support. Now, let's give a big round of applause. Do you have either a loved one, a family member, or someone in your network that has supported you through your ups and downs of your business? If they're here with you tonight, please give those people a big round of applause. So after being honest with my wife, I said, hey, can you please give me 1 year of pure commitment to this business? Because you know what? I haven't been putting the full effort in. And she said yes. And she doesn't like it when I say this, but my wife Kelly's right here up front, so give her a big round of applause. Now came the moment of truth. I had to pull up into David Duran's driveway. And we pulled in, I walked into the house, and quote, I manned up, and I let him know what happened. And at that point, he started to ask what we were planning to do. And as I said, we've got those people in our lives that support us, correct? But many times when those people support us, they will say something that we don't want to hear. They will challenge us to get the results that we want, even though we don't want to put the work in. And that's when Kelly stepped up. And while her dad's asking questions, she goes, Dad, we have a plan. I'm like, we do? And then she said some scary words that I will never forget. She goes, take my dad with you. Now, when she says, take my dad with you, I'd been smart. The company that got rid of me, I was trying to break up with them, but I wasn't going to plan to break up with them until later in the year. So I had signed up for a speaker showcase. So now what Kelly is saying is she wants me to go to the speaker showcase and take my father-in-law with me. Now to make it scarier, this was a high school student leadership conference. So I'm going to have 200 high school student leaders from around the world. These are the kids who'll tell you, you suck in a heartbeat. And my father-in-law. No pressure. So when I go in the room, I start to do the speech. Now, if you can help me out right now, just to help me remember those days, everybody just cross your arms like this and give me a serious look. While I'm doing the speech, David Duran looks just like you the entire speech. I'm thinking that I'm doing good. People are laughing, having a good time, and his arms are still crossed. And at the end of the presentation, I took a picture. And this was the first day of my full-time speaking career. I haven't looked back ever since. This was June 25th, 2015. I am a speaker. I'm feeling amazing. And then I look out into the crowd at the back. Some people were clapping, yeah. I wasn't clapping because at the back of the room was David Duran with his arms still crossed. I wanted to know what he thought. I value this man's opinion. So I started to walk sheepishly to the back of the room, but before I got there, a line had formed for him. He's an ex-marketing guy. So he started to do a employee, or if you want to call it, client analysis. He was asking people for feedback. So I had to wait in line to talk to my father-in-law. And by the time the line ended, people were taking pictures of me, but more people were talking to him. By the time I got up to him, I said, hey, David, what did you think? And he says, let's go home and talk about it. Oh, I heard that in the room right now. Yeah, what are y'all thinking about me? I'm like, I'm dead. Because even though we're adults, don't we have that figure in our life that we consider a parental figure and we still respect them? And if they say something like that, you're thinking they're coming down on you? So when people get into that situation, has anybody here ever gone back to acting like a child? Has anybody here gotten in so much trouble where you thought you were dead that you had to figure out a way to get out of it? So what I did was this. I knew there was a lot of speakers there who didn't want to be in the hotel. So I went and found some guinea pigs, some sacrificial lambs. I go, who would like to come back to my family's house to have a nice home-cooked New Mexican meal? I found 2 volunteers. And we go back to my father-in-law's house, and we sit in his backyard, and we have the talk. Now, no, it's not that talk, everybody. Now, I'll joke around and call this the Spanish Inquisition, but for 2 hours, we sat in his backyard, and he asked me everything about the business. He wanted to know if this is possible. And after that 2 hours, his arms came uncrossed. And my wife's gonna laugh, my kids are up here too, they're gonna laugh. He's a finger pointer. He likes to wag his finger, and he finally wags his finger at me and goes, Frank, this is what you're born to do. What can I do to help? Don't we have people like that in our lives? I mean, at that moment, I told people I flipped my mindset. I mean, things changed right there. I've got my wife's backing. I've got my father-in-law's backing. I can do this. Okay, that did not get the reaction that I wanted. Hold on. At that moment, I flipped my mindset. Because if you've got a last name Kitchen, then guess what? You've got to start thinking about what you can cook up. Like when you see a spatula anywhere, guess what? Even if you can't cook, you start to think about what you can cook, right? I mean, think about it. Anybody, help me right now. What is a spatula for? Wait, what did we say down here? Pancakes. Okay, that's my daughter. Anybody else? What are spatulas for? For eggs? Someone said flipping. There's 3 things that a spatula is for, everybody. Number 1, think about your business right now. We're always talking about what we want to do or thinking about it, but you got to put work in when you really want something to feed that hunger, right? So a spatula is used to cook things up. But many times when we're cooking things up, it's not going quite the right way, right? So what do we have to do? We have to flip things in order to cook it the proper way. But more importantly, with a spatula is used to serve. Is it used to serve ourselves, or is it used to serve others? That's what flipped my mindset at that point. I love it, like, oh. The ethical people are clapping right now. But I realized that's why my business was falling flat, because for the first 8 years, I was focused just on me. Having a sign at the airport saying, Mr. Kitchen, get a nice hotel room. No. I had to focus on my clients. I mean, and that's what we're here to recognize tonight. The service that we're giving to our clients and the people that we serve. We're putting them before ourselves. I mean, we just had Jeff here give money to everybody to give back to others. I mean, give Jeff a big round of applause. I mean, that was amazing here. So at that moment, I flipped my mindset and said, we got to get cooking. I started to recognize I was not hanging out with other cooks. I was hanging out with people who said they can't cook. So I figured I was like, I need to go hang out with some other speakers, some other business owners. I joined the National Speakers Association. It's my version of the Better Business Bureau. I had to get around people who could teach me what I could do, to point me in the right direction, to flip my mindset, to start thinking about what I could do. And once I hung around these people more and more, I was excited. I started making phone calls going, I got fired. And within a week, I'd booked out a week's worth of speaking. And then the work kept coming in and kept coming in. And about 5 years later, I got a phone call. And this phone call is from the National Speakers Association. Within our association, this is a worldwide association for professional speakers, we have something similar to the Torch Awards. They look about how many speeches that you've given, how much money you've made, client reviews, and actually have other speakers review your work. And my phone call was I was being invited to Nashville, Tennessee to come to our annual Influence Conference. And the reason I was being invited to Nashville, Tennessee, had gone through this long process, was like, Frank, on opening night, we'd like to induct you into our latest class of CSPs. We want to recognize you as one of the best professional speakers in the world. Now, this was an amazing moment. I mean, I'm taking this picture, this selfie, less than 6 years later, after the point of getting fired, to now it says it up there. Anything is possible, but nothing is easy. And we know that as business owners, don't we? We've got to be around the right people who believe in us and pour into us. And this picture was amazing. But the most amazing picture that night was this one. Not the one where it was about me, but when we focused the spotlight on others. After the ceremony was over, we went backstage and took this picture right here. Yeah, This is my son, Elijah. Elijah's actually up front right now. When I was focused just on me and not my family and the people I was serving, I fell flat. When I started to think about the people that I was serving, things changed. Now, I grew up in a house where, my father wasn't around for a long time, so I want to make sure I'm as present as possible. My wife's always saying, hey, make sure you include us. We want to be a part of what you're doing. So when I got the phone call, the family had always been dropping me off to the airport, but I would go away and they couldn't be involved. So Elijah goes, Dad, do we get to go? I go, yes. And he was happy. And then he goes, do I need to get dressed up? I go, yeah. He goes, I don't have a suit. So since he didn't have a suit, we said, let's go look for one. So we went looking for suits and he found one. And he got a gray suit. And he goes, Dad, I got a gray suit and you do too. Then he went to his closet. He goes, I got a pink shirt and so do you. Then he talked to our friend who's a business owner and he asked if he could make us matching bow ties. And as I was sitting there waiting to go on stage for the ceremony, I hadn't quite changed yet. And I thought, you know what, we're running out of time. And I looked at Kelly and I go, Kelly, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to change. And she looks at me and she goes, Frank, let's not be those people you talk about during your speeches, the people who pour water on people's fire. We need to feed that fire. So we rushed back to the hotel room and I changed. And as we're walking down the hall towards the presentation, Elijah looks up at me and goes, Dad. I'm like, yeah. They're gonna think we're before and after. So with our business, everybody, we're here to celebrate excellence in business tonight. But the excellence isn't about the businesses, just their sales and their numbers and their number of locations. It's about their ethics, their morals, how they treat people. And in this world, we don't hear that enough, do we? But tonight we're here to celebrate it. And for the people who are here, there are going to be several people who don't win tonight. But the thing is, you can learn from all the people who come on this stage. And that's what I'd like to share with you tonight. I want to share with you the recipe that I used to get here on stage in front of all of you tonight. The same recipe that our finalists and our winners used to get up here on stage tonight. That moment with Elijah, I knew I was living fresh. I mean, if you look at that term right now, is that a positive or a negative term? Positive, right? But the thing is, for businesses and our life and our dreams, to truly cook up the results we want in our business, our career, our organizations, we can't think about it. We can't talk about it. We have to live it. And I want to show it to you right now. On the count of 3, here's what we're going to do. Because we could think of something fresh, that's going to make us smile. And I mean, even if I ask you on the count of 3 to say the word fresh, it'll probably make you smile bigger. Like, try this one. 1, 2, 3. See, you smiled. But then I got troublemakers over here. Because the people over here, you followed instructions. Great job. But then there's like 3 or 4 people over here. My ears pick up everything. They went, fresh. And when I looked over there, they stopped. So here's what we're going to do. This time on the count of 3, I want to prove this to you. This is how you get successful in your business. On the count of 3, I want everybody to say fresh, but go as long as possible. So get ready. 1, 2, 3. Fresh. I'm not even giving out a prize, and they are still going. That is some competitive people right there. But we're going to go home tonight. Many of you are going to be driving down the I-10, the 101, the 51, something, and be like, shh. Because here's the ultimate piece, everybody. For our businesses, remember what we think or what we talk about, it's how we live. When I say we're living fresh, here's what's happening. The work that you put in, it's going to be long-term. The people who went the longest understand. You got to have some longevity. You've got to put the work in. It's just not one moment of going fresh. You got to do it for a long time. You have to live focused, resourceful, enthusiastic, strong, and honest. What we're doing is we're working to cook up the results we hunger for while inspiring others to do the same. We're going to have winners walk across the stage tonight. But even if you don't win tonight, you're going to be inspired by these people to go out and do the same thing. You're going to focus on what you can do. You're going to be resourceful and think about what you can do to get there. Don't think about what you don't have. Think about what you do have. You're going to be enthusiastic. When you're enthusiastic, the emotion of the results got to be stronger than the emotion of the work. So what excites you? And for me, it excites me to see people like you smiling and saying, what you taught me, I applied to my life. After that, you got to stay strong and you got to stay mentally strong. You got to surround yourself with other business owners because the 9-to-5 set, nothing wrong with the 9-to-5 set, but guess what? You don't have the same mentality as a business owner. So you got to put yourself around other business owners who tell you what you can do. And the most important, everybody, you got to be honest. You got to be honest with yourself and the people around you. And you got to be willing to ask questions. And when you live focused, resourceful, enthusiastic, strong, and honest, you live fresh. So I would like to thank all of you tonight for allowing me to come here and serve you. There's only so much time I have here on stage, but thanks to the Better Business Bureau, give them a big round of applause. There is a signed book at all of your tables right now. Me and Elijah came in and signed those on Friday. If you'd like to have that personalized, please let me know. But other than that, everybody, flip your mindset, create amazing businesses, and most importantly, go out there and live what? Fresh. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, F.R.E.S.H.